So one of the top Christian leaders today just asked this crazy question. What if my generation is not the one to reach the next generation? We're going to go over this crazy article on today's episode. What's up, family? I'm Benny Contreras, and this channel is all about building young leaders for ministry. I believe that the church needs young leaders today. God needs you to step into your ministry today. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the like on the video, make sure you hit the bell so you get notified every time I come out with the newest videos, newest content. Carey Nieuwhof is easily one of the top Christian leaders in today. His reach, his influence goes beyond just church and Christianity. It goes into the business world and marketing world. So Carey Nieuwhof is a big deal. Carey Nieuwhof has his own podcast where he interviews and talks to today's top Christian leaders, business leaders, marketing leaders. He talks to them all on his podcast. So make sure you check it out. It is here on YouTube as well. He recently published an article, and just first off, my first reaction to it is that I give him mad props, mad kudos. I mean, the guy was bold and was courageous enough to write on this topic. This issue is always been a thing, right? The next generation of leaders, how are we bringing them in? And when it's time to bring them in, we look around and there's no young people that are ready to step into leadership. And this article hit me so much because this is why I created this channel, for young leaders, to empower them, to equip them, to help them at least point them in the right direction to step into ministry, to be a leader wherever they may be, to shine the light of Jesus, to make disciples and preach the gospel wherever they are at. So when I read this article, I mean, it just brought a whole bunch of feelings in me. It brought up some memories as I was coming up as a young leader. It hit me in so many different spots. And this is why I want to talk about this on today's video. Why my generation probably won't reach the next generation. A really good thing, what I love about this article is this right here. It says it's time for older generations to stop talking about how to reach the next generation without including the next generation. And he really goes into detail why that is so, why there's a need now to start including people from that next generation. And he's talking to, Gen Xers and older. He's talking to people who are 40 and older and talking to them about how to include the next generation. He gives 3 reasons why and 4 things that they can do about it. And so I like this other excerpt here. It says it's going to take the leadership of the next generation to reach the next generation. In other words, we need younger people to come to the table because it's going to take their leadership. It's going to take their ideas, their passion, their anointing, their giftings to reach the next generation. Now, I'm not saying that older generation, and I believe Carey feels this way too, that the older generation can't reach young people. That's not what the article is saying. But what it is saying is that we really want to reach the next generation, if we really want to see an influx of younger people, not only coming to church, but buying into the mission and vision of the church, serving, stepping in leadership roles, taking on more communication roles, taking on more ideas and innovation in the church, then we're going to need people from that generation to come onto the leadership team, to come into those meetings and voice their ideas and the reasons why that's not happening already. And I'm not going to go over each point. I'm going to put a link in the description of this article. I highly encourage you to check it out. But one point on why he says why his generation won't reach the next generation, he says innovation for the next generation naturally comes from the next generation, the newest ideas, because they understand the needs of that generation. They understand that, these are the things that they face. These are things they think about, they worry about, the struggles, the battles that they go through. So let's help you. These are the things that we should do to make that transition or that season in life a little easier. We always, even myself, I think like, oh, I have a pretty good understanding of what the culture is. And in reality, I'm probably not as in touch with it as people who are probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years younger than me, to be honest. Like, I don't understand their culture, because I'm not that age, So like, I think if we want a more insight on the way people think in that age group, you need to include people from that age group. You cannot assume that you know how they think, the way they act, because you don't. You need to include younger people to understand the current culture a little better. One of the things that he says that older leaders can do is stop criticizing young leaders. And I think this is so true. Now, I do believe this goes both ways. I do believe that older leaders need to stop criticizing young leaders, and I'd be the first one to raise my hand and say, it needs to start right here with me, need to stop criticizing older leaders, because a lot of times younger leaders are, well, so-and-so won't let me in, they're being the way they are. They're not, which honestly could be true, but the way that we voice that is sometimes wrong. It's not right. And there's a better way to handle that. Older leaders need to stop criticizing young leaders, build them up. If you're criticizing a young leader and you're not talking to that young leader, that already is toxic. And we're going to talk about that on the live that's coming up next week with my boy Omar. We're going right here live next Tuesday, March 2nd at 8 o'clock in the evening, Pacific Standard Time. Please be a part of that. Stop being toxic is going to be the name of that live, the topic, the theme. So that's a way of being toxic, is criticizing young leaders and you're not even talking to that young leader you're criticizing. I'll share one more thing about this article. The third thing that he says that older leaders can do is flip the keys. Man, this statement right here, 3 words, and it hits so hard. Flip the keys. Give them the keys of leadership. Give them the keys, the responsibility. Give them those things. Give them the ability to take that leadership position. Give them the keys to the building. Like, I understand that, there's a lot of thought that goes into that, but I like the idea of that. Like, hey, you know what? Here, you go. Here, you do this. Hey, you know what? Can you set up? Hey, you know what? Can you lead service? Hey, can you preach? Hey, I need you to go to the building and do, like giving them the opportunity to take the leadership position, the leading role, giving them an opportunity to prove themselves to you, prove themselves to themselves, honestly, sometimes. Man, Carey Nieuwhof, thank you so much for writing this article. Again, this hit me on so many levels, brought back a lot of struggles I faced as a young person trying to come up in leadership. I agree that a lot of times churches, the leadership in churches, they keep young people out. They don't let them come to the table, talk about the vision and the mission of the church. You need them. If you want to reach young people, which I hope every church does, because if you don't, then I'm sorry, but your church is dying. But if you want to reach young people for your church, you need to include young people in ministry. And I'm not talking about like my age. I'm 33. Like, I know I'm young, but I'm not like young, We're talking like 20s. Today, look for somebody young that can be a part of your leadership team that's 20, 21, 22. Invite them to the table, invite them to a meeting. Say, hey, we need some ideas on how we can reach our young people. Don't just solely rely on the youth pastor as well. Give him some support. Let him, trust me, he or she knows better than anyone. A young person that is reliable, trustworthy, faithful, that can come on and be a part of the conversation at the table to help you start reaching that next generation. Again, Carey Nieuwhof, thank you so much for writing this article. It's timely, it's relatable, but you can also apply it. It's very practical. So I highly encourage you to read it. Link in the description. Again, going live right here on YouTube next Tuesday, March 2nd, 8 p.m. with my boy Omar Gonzalez, who is a youth leader, a leader in the state of California. We're going to talk on the theme and topic of stop being toxic. It's going to be great. I can't wait. He's going to bring so much value. So make sure you're here for that. Subscribe, hit the bell. That way you're reminded and notified as soon as we go live next week. Thank you guys so much for your support. I love you. Until next time, take care.